Come on, NASA. You're making this too easy. Here it comes. NASA shares out-of-this-world view of the Ring of Fire eclipse. Look at that. This image was allegedly captured by NASA's Discover satellite. And from the looks of it, it appears that the entirety of North America had Taco Bell for lunch. Come on, truth be told. That's a shadow caused by an eclipse, not some sort of fart cloud. Did you know that most of the people that were on the direct path of this annular solar eclipse didn't even experience darkness? So why would the entirety of North America be enshrouded in darkness?
A flight route. We're going from Abu Dhabi to Auckland, and it goes all the way over here and then all the way back down. Why didn't it just cut across over here? But when you look at it on a flat Earth map, it's on a straight line. This was the World Cup. They were going from Qatar to Buenos Aires, but they went to Rome first to fuel. Why did they go there when they could have just gone here? And the answer is because they went from Qatar to Rome to Buenos Aires.
Now, I get this question all of the time. Why would the world elites lie about the round Earth, and what do they benefit from this? Now, first of all, you need to understand that knowledge is power. If you withhold knowledge like the secrets of the universe and the intelligent design of where we are over the population, then to a degree you possess more power than the population. If you can convince the population that we are on this round spherical Earth that defies all laws of physics, hurtling through space at millions of miles per hour, you are also promoting scarcity, you're promoting the Big Bang, this all came from nothing, and everyone will slave in their system. When in reality, this plane that we live on was intelligently created by God. With abundant resources, free energy, no global warming, no evolution, no Big Bang, this is what it is. Now, if you understood where we truly were, and that we are in the center of this universe, and that God created us intelligently, and that we were all equals, you would never slave in their system. Now, let's take a look at what the devil-worshipping world elites tell you what's going on with this round Earth. 8 inches every squared mile, or 0.666 feet. Here's the speed, the tilt, the Tropic of Capricorn, the Tropic of Cancer. Must just be a coincidence, guys. People are so brainwashed. They're like, oh, they ignore the science over thousands of years. These people are the same people that told you this was good for you. Real science knows that water always finds its level, guys. Gravity's never been proven by science. Density and buoyancy has. And it's time to wake up. You have been lied to your whole life. Peace.
For those of you with eyes to see, ears that hear, this pretty much says it all. Neutral Buoyancy Laboratory, NBL. Full mock-up of their so-called International Space Station. Yeah. Visitors Gallery. Now look at what they claim they do there. We use state-of-the-art video equipment and software to produce animations and visualizations that accurately show proposed operations. That's where your videos are coming from.
Hello, I'm physicist Albert Michelson. My experiment proved Earth to be stationary. Yes, you heard it right. The Earth does not move.
Physics at the time, including Maxwell's famous equations for electrodynamics, was based on the assumption that space was filled with a substance, an ether through which light and other electromagnetic waves would propagate. But all attempts to directly measure the motion of the Earth around the Sun through this ether had paradoxically resulted in an apparent velocity of 0. The stage was set for one of the most important events in the history of physics, the Michelson-Morley experiment.
If the Earth is moving through the ether, then light waves going one direction relative to us should travel at a different speed than another direction. It's like if you're in a fast-moving river and you're swimming along with the current, you're swimming much faster relative to the shore than if you're swimming against the current. So what the Michelson-Morley experiment was designed to do was measure the speed of light in one direction versus another direction to see how fast we're moving through the ether. And what it discovered was it's the same in one direction as the other.
Michelson-Morley couldn't measure any effect of Earth's orbit, even though the assumption was at the time that that would affect the measured speed of light.
The conclusion directly contradicts the explanation, which presupposes that the Earth moves.
The experiment failed to detect the Earth moving in or against the ether. The problem was serious. Although various solutions were advanced, in the end, science was faced with a choice. Either discard the ether or admit that the Earth wasn't orbiting the sun.
It was a null experiment. They were very disappointed because they couldn't measure the motion of the Earth through the ether. And Michelson himself was extremely disappointed that he couldn't do it.
And the fact that he wasn't able to measure anything was startling to a lot of people.
I have come to believe that the motion of the Earth cannot be detected by any optical experiment.
Then we had the problem that all these measured velocities of the Earth being zero stand unchallenged and unqualified. So the Earth is not moving exactly like the Michelson-Morley interferometer says it's not moving. Albert Einstein himself said that if Michelson-Morley is wrong, then relativity is wrong.
If one day God comes down from above and says, look, these two great theories, relativity and the quantum theory, are wrong, what would I say? First of all, I would say, oh my God, all my published works are wrong. I mean, I'll have to look for another job.
And I've heard people say that the reason they don't want to publish papers that disagree with special relativity or general relativity is that they built their careers on this, and that it would be admitting a major mistake.
But second of all, once I collect my wits, I would simply say, but of course. You see, we are approaching truth, but can you actually get to absolute truth?
If you were paranoid, you'd say there's a conspiracy. Whatever it is, there is a lot of resistance to getting something published that disagrees with either of Einstein's two theories.
We live on a motionless plane. No experiment ever conducted has ever proved Earth to spin around the sun. Earth is a plane, and not a planet.
If you come over here to my Hillbilly EDU channel and just type into the search box there, BitChute channel, and go here and check out this video that I made 3 years ago now, you can see an example of the censorship by way of shadow banning your content. Now, of course, the ardent curveballers don't want to accept that that's really going on because they think their worldview is the correct one. But as I pointed out before, and you know intuitively, truth doesn't fear investigation, only lies do. So they have to censor the truth. And this curveballer that I tried to, this is really going on. This is not a dumb link. It does work. He comes back and he says, yes, the YouTube link works. I'm not really interested in your paranoid delusions. I'd rather stick to the science, thanks. Well, that's all I'm doing is pointing out the lies in their science, and therefore they shadow ban and delete my information. Excuse me. All of you that are in this truth know from years ago, and I used to tell people, and they'd look at me like I had two heads when I'd say, when you search something on YouTube, you must go down the first 5 pages and skip them first to get to the real good information. But now they don't operate that way anymore. For example, the flat earth community loves to take shots at some of the scientific world's biggest names, from Galileo, Neil deGrasse Tyson, because, well, the earth isn't flat. Having people prove that it isn't is really damaging to their case. So we decided to call one. So they call Michio Kaku, right? One of the most famous and respected names on the list actually responded. Theoretical physicist, author, television host, and City College of New York professor Michio Kaku. Yada, yada, yada. Let's skip down to the good stuff. We talked to him about the claims of the theories of last month's conference. The relationship nature of science and religion, and what flat earth community and other conspiracies are contributing to discussions about science. They gave us a bunch of talking points, and I can read the quote to you under the subject line, realize you don't actually have a working map or model either. It says Big Bang cosmology is rapidly going bankrupt. Major scientists like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Michio Kaku admit to being 96% stupid and off by 10 to the 120th power when it comes to our understanding of the cosmos. Now, see, that's the truth. But when you go over to YouTube, where I've seen that video years ago when he said that, and you type that in there, you can actually have the statement word for word, as you'll see. And I don't care how far down the list you go now. Used to be buried 5, 6, 10 pages down. Now you can't find it. They don't want you to see that video of him saying it. I don't know if I can even show it here without getting some false-ass copyright claim. You can see, I'm going slow so you can see this. It's not here. It is gone. It is scrubbed. They do not want you to hear that. That's kryptonite to these liars. And you go far enough down the list, and they start showing you crap that doesn't have anything to do with this fella. Any and everything except what I looked for. Sorry, I just want to be as thorough as I can to prove to you my point. Now you see, off topic already. They'll throw in there a few more him. But nothing to do with what I just said. Now, perhaps this censorship is IP address dependent, and they don't want me to find this information. But I go to another search engine, punch that in, and within the top 5 videos, there it is. It's right there. So, for those of you that want to think I'm paranoid and I'm just not putting up videos on this platform and I'm trying to steer you to another platform, hey, I just don't want to waste my time and not have anybody be able to see this truth.
There is a crisis in cosmology. Usually in science, if we're off by a factor of 2 or a factor of 10, we call that horrible. We say something's wrong with the theory. We're off by a factor of 10. However, in cosmology, we're off by a factor of 10 to the 120. That is 1 with 120 zeros after it. This is the largest mismatch between theory and experiment in the history of science.
Does anyone else find this strange that the father of NASA, Wernher von Braun, that developed the Saturn V rocket that took Apollo 11 to the moon, has a Bible verse on his gravestone that reads, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork"? Now, why would a guy that believes in space put a Bible verse that talks about the firmament? Well, maybe he knew that we weren't going to space and we live under something like this. Is Disney trying to tell us something? But did you guys know NASA is a Hebrew word that means to beguile, deceive, lead astray?
Yep. Even crazier, Mr. Willy Ley, German, of course. And together, these two wrote a book called Project Mars, where a character in the book was named Elon. True story. Here you can see Willy Ley and Wernher von Braun on Project Mars, the master blueprint for man's first trip to Mars. Here we go. And even though Wikipedia references the Elon from the book, Here's ChatGPT telling me there's no Elon in that book. Yeah, no Elon. Well, that's interesting. Hold on, let me ask a better question. Isn't the Martian leader in von Braun's book, Project Mars, called the Elon? I apologize for any confusion in my previous responses. You are correct. The leader of the Martian civilization is referred to as the Elon.
Experiencing some heavy censorship. This video I've just shown you from the right is from this part 6, which has been removed. So I've taken tidbits out and we'll re-upload that here. Over here on the left is the NASA, what do you call it? Northern Hemisphere Visualization. There it is, 4K Studio, whatever. Anyhow, we've gone up here, we've changed the speed, and you can see it's January 25th. Remember this video here, I show you daylight footage on the 27th before the sun sets of the full moon. Of course, it can't be 100%, so we'll call it 99. And then tomorrow it's 100, and then the next day it's 100. These clowns claim less than 2 hours because that fits the red tinted moon during the total lunar eclipse story. So we got to keep our story straight. So when we see it fly past the full moon phase here, I want us all to recall that this website is using pictures and data from this right here. But the story doesn't match because here you're just looking for an observation, right? But here they're trying to sell you the lie of it over a period of time. You see how the two stories don't correlate? It's the details where the lie is exposed, my friend.
Now I'm going to discuss how we would look for a new law. In general, we look for a new law by the following process. First, we guess it. Then we well, don't laugh, that's really true. Then we compute the consequences of the guess to see what, if this is right, if this law that we guessed is right, we see what it would imply, and then we compare those computation results to nature, or we say compare to experiment or experience, compare it directly with observation to see if it works. If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. In that simple statement is the key to science. It doesn't make a difference how beautiful your guess is, it doesn't make a difference how smart you are who made the guess, or what his name is. If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. That's all there is to it. It's therefore not unscientific to take a guess, although many people who are not in science think it is. For instance, I had a conversation about flying saucers some years ago with laymen. Because I'm scientific, I know all about flying saucers. So I said, I don't think there are flying saucers. So my antagonist said, is it impossible that there are flying saucers? Can you prove that it's impossible? I said, no, I can't prove it's impossible. It's just very unlikely. That, they say, you are very unscientific. If you can't prove it impossible, then how can you say it's likely, that it's unlikely? Well, that's the way, that is scientific. It is scientific only to say what's more likely and less likely, and not to be proving all the time possible and impossible. To define what I mean, I finally said to him, listen, I mean that from my knowledge of the world that I see around me, I think that it is much more likely that the reports of flying saucers are the results of the known irrational characteristics of terrestrial intelligence rather than the unknown rational efforts of extraterrestrial intelligence. Now you see, of course, that with this method we can disprove any definite theory. If you have a definite theory, a real guess from which you can really compute consequences which could be compared to experiment, then in principle we can get rid of any theory. We can always prove any definite theory wrong. Notice, however, we never prove it right. Suppose that you invent a good guess, calculate the consequences, and discover that every consequence that you calculate agrees with experiment. The theory is then right? No, it is simply not proved wrong. Because in the future, there could be a wider range of experiments. You can compute a wider range of consequences, and you may discover then that the thing is wrong. That's why laws like Newton's laws for the motion of planets last such a long time. He guessed the law of gravitation, calculated all the kinds of consequences for the solar system and so on, compared them to experiment, and it took several hundred years before the slight error of the motion of Mercury was developed. During all that time, the theory had been failed to be proved wrong and could be taken to be temporarily right, but it can never be proved right, because tomorrow's experiment may succeed in proving what you thought was right wrong. I must also point out to you that you cannot prove a vague theory wrong. If the guess that you make is poorly expressed and rather vague, and the method that you use for figuring out the consequences is rather a little vague, you're not sure, I mean, you say, I think everything's because it's all due to Muggles, and Muggles do this and that more or less, so I can sort of explain how this works, then you see that that theory is good because it can't be proved wrong.
Science is, testing of claims, repeatable observations. So again, if this theory that they expound, which as fact is true, you're seeing the moon in these videos when it is more than half the radius of the Earth behind the Earth, when all of it transpires. Like I said, if refraction were true, you can test the claim, you should be able to see a waning gibbous moon phase rise in the east at some point due to refraction, meaning the moon is over here on this side of the ball Earth. On some occasion, after it was full, and you start seeing the shadow occur, and you're able to video that phase, which would be depicted right here in the daylight sky, right? With the moon's, or with the sun setting in the west. If refraction were true, you would at one point see the waning gibbous rise in the east with the sun setting in the west. We would have video evidence of that, but we never ever video that phenomenon. So that renders this idea of refraction as a selective excuse to explain away something you should not otherwise witness. You'll damage your eyes if you look at the total solar eclipse before totality. I mean, it's absurd, folks. The only thing that you obscure when you do that is the very smooth, dark orb that you witness with your own eyes. That's why they don't want you looking at it. Wake up. Allow me to start off by first apologizing to you. In my zeal to share truth, when I uploaded this video, or this picture that I took on the 2017 total solar eclipse from this location on this video here, it'd be around here in Denver, okay? I zoomed in and it cropped the photo to where you don't see the sun. But again, this photo is taken without a solar filter. So that's why you're able to see the stars and the tree. But what I want you to see is, even though you can't see the sun, you can see in the glint a representation of what I would have saw. Okay? And if I had to match it up to one of these, it would closely resemble this, only more so like this, in this angle, as you could see. All right, enough of that. But what I want to show you is this video here. Our government put up, this is NASA video. They used to have audio that accompanied it. I couldn't find that. But what I like to point out is they show you in the description, they tell you that all of these that you're seeing is how it would appear at the time. Okay? So when it's over Casper, people in LA, it appears like this, and people over here in northern Ohio, Michigan, it appears the exact opposite. And pay attention, this is on the outer ring of this outer shadow, which is like what, 2,000 miles away from the event? Think about it. Okay? Something else to consider. I'd mentioned before, we don't live on a triangle. If you think about it, they're showing you the sun's altitude, right? 54.2 degrees. But what they should also show is which direction you're looking, because everybody's looking south. That's the problem with this. You can't project asymmetrical parallax up this high over North America, because the sun and the moon never get above the tropics, if their story is telling us the truth. Or this is being seen through glass and water and it's being projected up here. Think about it. For all those poor, slow students out there like this old hillbilly that raised on too much fluoridated water and chemicals and everything else, I want to slow this down and go over it. I'd mentioned this before. Remember, truth in plain sight, asymmetrical, parallax way up here in North America is impossible. Proof of the dome, proof of the firmament. Just like Jesus said, the only sign we're going to see, you got to question it, and it's not coming from me. Old hillbilly here ain't trying to hoodwink nobody. Just trying to show the truth. See this? Oriented to the local horizon in that area. But again, we're going to show you a little truth, not too much. We don't want to get involved in what direction everyone is looking, not just where this is at, these people too. Everyone's looking south because it can't get higher than the tropics. We all know this. And this isn't brain surgery. And in my shadow band video, they lie we live when it got over here at Beatrice, Nebraska, where they had national, footage from. I've got footage and they lie we live on BitChute there, the shadow band video from Omaha and down here, I think in Beatrice, and it's completely flipped. So, you can't argue this. I mean, there's ballers trying to act like people loaded the video upside down and stuff, but they don't claim that here. They're showing you. They don't get too close to it because they don't want to point out the absurdity of how it could flip in such a short area. See it? It's absurd. And it lasts too long, like the guy in Indonesia said. Should have been 3 hours. It was 5 hours. And these paths, zigzags on globe Earth, but make ellipses over the AE map, the real map. See, this is why Jesus told you this would be the only sign you're given. This proves the firmament. This proves, that they're lying. There's the dome, baby. Game over. All is bye-bye. I just, again, really want to stress the point that I'm trying to make here. This is visualization studio from NASA showing you truth in plain sight, not obvious overt truth because they're not getting anywhere close to the red on either side with their depiction of what you would see. Because you would have to question, how could it flip? Everyone's looking south. It's not over your head. That's why no one can model this. People tried. I modeled this in AutoCAD, knew it didn't work. Other people modeled it and tried to pretend like it works. And you look at it, it doesn't work. Go draw it up yourself. I've done it. It doesn't work. But, you don't question it. You just believe what you're told. That's why they have to show us a cartoon. Never a full-scale model because it doesn't work in reality. But no one wants to question it deeply. They want to just believe the lie and live in the world. We are supposed to expose it. And that's what I'm doing here.